he's got some blood that he has wiped on it. It's dripping now
I see it.
from his hand.
Yeah, that's too much.
I saw him wiping his shirt right there. It's not on his pants, so he'll start to show up, but he's
but
putting
look
it
at
up.
this.
Yeah, it's dripping pretty good.
Yeah, you can't pitch with that. And he's wiping it on his shirt because it's harder to see than if you wiped it on your pants. Although it's dripping on his pants now.
Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee. Remember to use that promo code DNVR20, because when you do that, well, you get 20% off your entire purchase of that CBD infused, deliciously rich, and potentially life-altering Strava Craft Coffee. I'm your host, Drew Kreisman. I'm the managing editor of the DNVR Rockies situation. With us is, of course, beat writer Patrick Lyons. We got super producer Kale on the scene here today, though we all know here on our show, it's called Tech Boy, on hand for the DFA program that we run on Wednesdays. You know we're live Monday through Friday on Facebook and Periscope, and on Wednesday you can catch us here on YouTube having a little bit of extra fun. And today, Patrick, it might be fun for us, but for any of the gentlemen who we're going to be discussing on this day, not such a fun walk down memory lane as we discuss the weirdest, wildest, wackiest, wombliest, ran out of W words. Those were all I could come up with. Injuries in, history. Not all of them. Look, we can't be encyclopedic here. Baseball's a very old game and played by very strange and silly men. And yes, Wild the Innocent, glad to see that you made it, because you threw this topic at us on Twitter a week or two ago, and just too up our alley to miss this.
These are all embarrassing injuries, some less so than others. If your kid happens to jump in your arms and you blow your back out, not entirely embarrassing. Hey, you're doing the dad thing. But the other roughly 45 different injuries we were able to find, several of which did happen to Colorado Rockies players, they are all very, very embarrassing. Some unfortunate, some wild, and some I deem to be pathetic.
Yeah. We'll have to decide which ones fall into what category. We'll also, I think, get a really interesting sense for where everyone draws their line, right? Because it's like, is it funny to laugh at other people's pain? Well, we're going to find out exactly how much each of us is willing to do that. We're going to test everyone's boundaries. We're going to force you into some interesting and potentially uncomfortable situations. I know I'm going to be uncomfortable for a lot of this because I'm squeamish, and just watching Trevor Bauer's blood finger there at the beginning of the show. So I'm buckled in. I'll be there right along anyone else who's uncomfortable with us, because at the very least, there's also some great baseball stories in here.
And for anyone that doesn't know the backstory about Trevor Bauer in the 2016 ALCS, but the reason his finger happened to be bloody is because he cut it on a drone. And this is, 4 years ago. It doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but to me, I didn't really know too many people that owned a drone or messed around with them. It was very much new technology. It still is, I guess, to a degree, but the dude came under fire, did not last very long in that start. And he's found a career for himself, and he's still making news in interesting ways, weird ways maybe too. But nevertheless, he will not make that mistake again, even though he still owns several drones.
He's making all new mistakes now.
He is. And we've got a lot of Rockies players too that come on this list. And there's an obvious one, and I know you know the story a lot better, than I do. So I'll let you tell it. It does involve Todd Helton, but Todd Helton wasn't the guy who got injured.
Are we going straight to Barmy? We going straight to
I think we should. I think we should start off with a bang. We could build up to it because that's the most notable one. That's the one where, when you're, depending on who you are and you're making your top 10 weirdest injuries or craziest injuries of the last decade or so, whatever it may be, you are going to see this one on some of those lists. And it's for your Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, I think when this topic first came up, a two-word phrase popped into my mind that popped into the minds of a lot of Colorado Rockies fans. And I don't know, this may be a great place to get Tech Boy in here and test his
What are those
knowledge of
two
the
words?
situation. Yeah, actually, we could see. I don't want to put him on the spot like that because I think a lot of us older folk who'd been around it know the two words that popped into my mind.
Like if you were a Cleveland baseball fan and you say, when you think of the 2016 American League Championship Series and we're talking about injuries, what's that one word? They would all go, drone. Yes, Trevor Bauer, we get it. But what two words harken back to those days of Mr. Clint Barmes? I think I've got those two words. I wanted to see if Kelch can just make up two words.
No, I have no idea. I'm not even gonna try.
I was hoping someone would come along and give it to you in the comments, but the two words are
broomstick splinter. So we need some improv skills from you, Drew. Just Kale, just anything like what could it have been?
Broomstick splinter. I probably would have gone like tarp mount function or something.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Then we have one of those.
Yeah.
We do have one of those on our list.
There we go. All right.
Way better than broomstick splinter.
Tarp malfunction is actually that's a solid two-word phrase that you could see. Yeah. It does require more explanation if you don't know the story, but the two-word phrase, I really thought you'd have said it by now, but I guess he's just waiting for me to. Deer meat. Clint Barmes, was it 2004? It was 2005. It's on his Wikipedia page. It's like a headline of Clint Barmes' Wikipedia page. He broke his collarbone carrying a package of deer meat up the stairs that had been given to him by Todd Helton. Todd Helton had gifted Clint Barmes with so much quality deer meat that he was not able to carry it up the stairs. And he missed a significant portion of that season.
That's an interesting type of farmer's carry. Like you got to work on, the shoulder balance and working on those obliques. So you gotta have some counterbalance and have one heavy weight in one hand. But for it to be deer meat and for you to get injured doing that, I would put that one in the. I don't know, Kale. Is that unfortunate, wild, or pathetic?
I think it's unfortunate. I think it's just unfortunate.
I would agree.
But I hope the deer meat was good enough to make up for all the baseball he didn't get to play. Like, I hope it was really good deer meat. Oh, Will's here saying it was allegedly.
Does anyone know what deer meat is called? I do. I want to see if y'all know.
Venison.
There we go. That's right.
I feel like that's common knowledge.
I feel like the story shouldn't have been deer meat. It should have been venison.
Venison.
Keep it to one word. One word is better than
Colorado
deer
Rockies shortstop sidelined by venison.
or deer beef. You're like, no, it's just venison. That's it. I wasn't sure how popular deer hunting is out in Colorado. It's very popular back east.
It is it's also very popular here. So,
yes.
Especially the further south of Denver you get, the more popular it gets.
Right.
Well,
that one always.
That's a strain. I think Matt Holliday was on that trip with him too.
Did not
sustain the unfortunate injury. I think all of these. I think all of these injuries that the Rockies players have had over history I've all put them in the unfortunate category.
There have been a few food-related ones too. That's not the only food-related one.
Well, Josh Outman, left-handed pitcher, who I believe came over, or they traded him for Brett Anderson, injured oblique muscle, vomiting from food poisoning.
Right.
That was a big one.
Right.
Sean Chacon, one of the great reasons of why there needs to be a universal DH, strained his hamstring running the bases.
Oh, that's right.
If we're going to talk about Clint Barmes, well, one of his teammates was celebrating after his walk-off, and Dustin Moore, you remember that name? Strained his groin. celebrating post walk.
I need that Obi-Wan Kenobi. We need that as a drop on this show. Just plop that up. That's a name I've not heard in a long
Dustin Moore is a good one. Now, Brett Anderson broke his finger swinging the bat, essentially. Matt Cain, fastball, 93 miles an hour, hit on the end of the bat. Boom, broke finger. Another reason why pitchers should just pitch. And Jordan Lyles broke his hand. This one's a stretch, but I'm going to throw it in because it adds insult to injury, quite literally. He threw a wild pitch, covered home. Martin Prado slid into his glove. Boom, broken hand.
Broken hand. Mark Reynolds also hurt himself swinging the bat one time. I'm trying to remember, but it was one of those really awkward swings, and he messed himself up real bad on like a broken bat situation. Carlos Gonzalez once missed like a couple of weeks because he was cutting steak and dropped the knife and caught it with his bare hand.
I do remember hearing about that one. Yes, yeah. Just too quick reactions.
Yeah, just like he couldn't not catch it. He was just like, I got that. Like,
and twice in Rockies history did a player break a finger diving headfirst into first base. Nolan Arenado and Matt Holliday.
Yeah.
Stop it, guys.
Yeah.
Stop it. You do not see sprinters diving headfirst across the finish line. So don't do that ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Tulo, he missed like a week when he slammed his bat. I remember that. Yep, he jammed.
Now that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That's a stupid injury that shouldn't happen.
That I would almost put that more pathetic than unfortunate. Because you caused that, and I didn't put any of those. I didn't put any like punched a water cooler, broke his hand, because like that happens, and then it's unfortunate, it's embarrassing, kind of pathetic, whatever. It's like you got to be better than that. But I did not include any of those, but they certainly are worthy of being in that conversation for just like,
really?
Not doing something athletic. You did something out of frustration.
Right.
Shameful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then there's all the visitors that come out here and get themselves hurt enjoying the Colorado outdoors when Mad Bum got the TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Bruised his ribs. Shoulder
renting a dirt bike, guys come out here like bikes. Go ride a horse or something.
That was either 2017 or 18. I think it might have been 17. But missed 2 months of the season for enjoying Colorado. A bit too much. Now there's a couple tangential related Rockies players having injuries. Adam Eaton, no, not that one. The other one, the pitcher. Briefly,
I did that. I can't. Well, when we were doing the NOS Stars, I came across his name and I went, Adam Eaton played for the Rockies? And I went, no, he didn't.
Former pitcher with the Padres. I think he pitched with the Phillies. But he cut his stomach while opening a DVD. I
those
submit
packages.
That is pathetic.
No, hold on. No, I'm coming to bat for Adam Eaton. Wrong Adam Eaton. Evil Adam Eaton here. And I will say this now as an old man, and I don't do old man rants on this show.
Well, you are an old man if you're still buying DVDs. Like that is a problem.
There was a time, sir, when opening a DVD package was a nightmare. There's some of the way those things came together, like you couldn't. I think I cut myself once taking a knife and trying to open a DVD package and like missing that thing and like hitting my finger. I think that's the worst time I've ever stabbed myself with a house appliance.
It's not the DVDs that get me. It's the old CD cases that the stickers would be so well stuck on, you couldn't get them off. And then you're just like ripping it and it breaks and you cut your head. Oh, that was the worst.
Totally. Oh. And scissors. There's an irony there in that scissors packaging is the hardest packaging to get into. You need scissors to get into, but if you had scissors, you wouldn't need scissors. Is that a
Seinfeld bit? Are you stealing from? No. It's someone. It's got to be, right?
It's got to be.
Did you know there's actually a tool? Did you know there's a tool for opening up CDs and DVDs? Now, when I worked at a radio station, I had one. They had a bunch of keychains, and you slide it right over the CD. It was more for CDs and DVDs.
Sure, yeah.
And I had it on my keychain, And because, again, we get a bunch of free CDs. Hey, play our album, whatever. We get it from other. It was cool. It was a good job to have while in college. But I had this little CD opener in my pocket. And when I was interning at a radio station doing football games, I just got this sensation of like rubbing my finger through the little groove of this keychain.
You don't know the pain. No
and
wonder.
At the end of the game, I was like, why is my thumb all bloody?
Oh,
boom, just ran my thumb right through there. Didn't miss any time on the IL or DL.
Oh,
so that's okay. All right, Glenn Allen Hill, former manager. He was a Rockies coach, I think, for at least a season, but more recently manager of the Albuquerque Isotopes. This is this one's an all-time top 10. Now, dude suffered from arachnophobia, and in the middle of one night, he was having a nightmare about spiders, just kind of woke up, jumped out of bed, and in the process, fell on a glass table, suffering cuts all over his body from nightmares about spiders.
I mean, you can't make that stuff up.
No.
That's one of those ones I'll tell you what, the more you know about Glenn Allen Hill, the stranger that story is. Or just like, I was going to say funnier, but again, I'm trying not to laugh at people's pain out here. He can be a very serious, very professional, very intimidating man.
That is why that is not a pathetic injury, nor is it an unfortunate injury. It is the first submission in Wild. That is that's wild.
Wild.
That's just wild.
Yeah. I hope he didn't watch that episode of Mandalorian, all the spiders, man.
Now, Jeremy Atfelt had 3 different types of kind of strange injuries. Again, kind of from being a dad, right? Sprained his knee when his son jumped into his arms. Sprained his knee another time with his family. And then at a family barbecue, cut his hand while trying to separate frozen hamburgers.
Yeah.
All unfortunate. Kind of the price of being a dad.
Yeah.
All right.
Who was the guy that didn't Brett Anderson get bitten by a snake? No, his kid did or something. That was a scary thing. That happened in spring training, but there was a weird...
That happens every 3 years, I feel like. Somebody in the baseball world gets bitten by a snake or tarantula down in Arizona.
Down in Arizona, yeah.
It's crazy. So the last one I've got, that's a Rockies-related injury before we maybe get to some Hall of Fame players who've had injuries and just Hall of Fame injuries.
It was John Axford. Thank you, Will. It was John Axford that got bitten by the snake, I think. But yeah, so give it.
Yes, now I remember that.
Yep.
Now you put the name to it. Yes,
yeah.
A longtime Brewers closer as well. All right,
he was great with the Brewers.
Milton Bradley, who I don't think we've really mentioned him on this podcast. And here's the thing.
Shame.
We may have to reward someone if they can find clip of this video, simply because I think MLB may have scrubbed it from the internet, especially when you hear about what happened. So 2007, we all know, game 163, Padres, Rockies. Padres were at quite a disadvantage. Do you remember the injured player? Milton Bradley. Well, I mentioned him there.
Yeah.
I already forgot what I said 2 seconds ago. So
Milton Bradley
Bradley,
to me, but yeah, he wasn't there. I remember that being a big deal going on.
Yes, he was thrown out at first base, again, all before instant replay, was arguing vociferously with the ump.
As Coach, he was wont to do.
As he was very wont. I found out plenty of those videos. I found several compilation videos of Bradley getting thrown out, ejected, arguing with umps. So his one of his coaches runs out on the field just to kind of separate him. And he just did exactly that from the clip, because I remember this was played ad nauseum back on a television channel, back when people watched television and cable. And the name of the channel was ESPN. Some people may have heard of it, the older folks.
Familiar. Yeah.
But they played it ad nauseum. And so the coach gets between the umpire and Milton Bradley. Well, Bradley kind of loses his balance in getting backed away and falls to the ground, tears his ACL, done for the rest of the season, and is a non-factor because he's hurt for game 163. The name of that coach who separated the umpire and Milton Bradley? Bud Black.
Sir Harry Ralston. There it is.
Scrubbed. I think it's scrubbed.
It's
just in case. Again, it was total accident. I remember watching and being like,
oh, yeah.
Like, did he kind of push him? And it was literally like, I don't even know if he put his hands on. I think it was almost like he had his hands up, walked between them. Bradley bumped into Bud, bounced off, and then that was it.
He was just so flying off the handle all the time, and he was like that. So yeah.
And very well may have cost his club the NL West and a berth in the playoffs.
Quite possibly. We'll never know. But if you think you know how things are going to go, well, then you got to get the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Those of you who are on my Twitter all the time telling me exactly what's going to happen in the future, you're very confident out there. And if you're very confident, there's a cliche for that. Put your money where your mouth is. You think you know what's going to happen in the sports world? You want to prove it to everybody, and not just through some clever tweets, but by fattening up your wallet a little bit. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get 100-to-1 odds on any semifinal team to win it all. That's code DNVR for new players to get a shot at $100 on any semifinals team this week. We might have to get Tech Boy on here in a second to give you a pick for a limited time only at DraftKingsSportsbook.com. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
Yeah, I know our boy Kale has been getting involved in the DNVR bets shows. Do you have a good one? I mean, I got one, but
the pick of the week?
I haven't been hot in a little while. I haven't won for the last 3 weeks out after having a real big burner.
I've been making really good money off of these Denver Nuggets, even though they're 1-3. Player props have been very profitable for me. I don't know what the line is, but I know you can still get Nikola Jokic MVP odds. The man is averaging a triple-double this season. Doesn't look like he's slowing any time down. And I swear to God, the rest of the team is going to figure it out. So they're going to end up being really good. And if they're a top 3 seed and Jokic averages a triple-double, he's in that conversation. He's totally in that conversation. And so if you were like me, you could have gotten in on the plus 2,500 odds even just 2 days ago. I bet $40 to win 1,000 2 days ago. But you can still get in at plus 1,200. And there's an NBA profit boost going on. You get a 20% profit boost every day until the end of the year. So just today and tomorrow on all the NBA games, any NBA bet. So you could take that plus 1,200, put that 20% profit boost on it. I'd put that as my pick of the week.
Yeah, you can't beat that. A DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week, Nikola Jokic plus 1,200, which is mind-blowing to think that a Denver Nuggets player pays out less than Steph Curry. Steph Curry is sitting right now plus 1,600.
Right.
Crazy. Yet a nug.
Monster. He's been he's been a monster so far. So
yeah,
it's a great one.
You can say
phenomenal.
Great pick. Great pick.
That's
it's gonna get lower too. That's the thing. That's why you do want to lock that in now.
Get in on that now. Yeah.
All right, Drew. You want some Hall of Famers? You want to hear some Hall of Famers have hurt themselves again in some unfortunate ways? Yeah. Well, we'll start with the oldest one, and Joe DiMaggio. Now he went to his sports medicine person and used something called the diathermy machine. I have no idea what it is.
Sounds like a bad idea.
It's something they probably don't use. I do know at one point he did have an injury, and I think to repair the scar tissue. I remember reading this in the Richard Ben Kramer biography about him, that they did put some kind of like worm or leech on the inside of his foot to help heal the scarring, which just wild. But anyway, he was left on this diathermy machine too long, or it was too hot, burned his foot, missed some time. That's got to be unfortunate. Roberto Clemente fell out of a hammock once and rolled down a steep slope, which if you've ever been to Pittsburgh is a very steep and undulating hills. There are San Francisco-esque streets in Pittsburgh if you ever go there. I do have family from the area. Pittsburgh is bonkers. But yeah, he missed some time from a back injury on that. George Brett coming in the more recent injury, or in the more recent time frame, broke his toe because his buddy, who we talked about yesterday on the pod, Bill Buckner, was coming up to bat. And so ran into the other room to get to the television, boom, whacked his foot. And which we've all done.
Right.
But we all aren't, 300 career hitters, one of the greatest third basemen of all time.
No.
So little bit more embarrassing.
Yeah,
Very
that's
unfortunate.
Oopsie. Yeah, that's
That one-
unfortunate. That one's unfortunate because, like you said, every single one of us has forgotten where our toe was in relationship to a wall at some point in our lives. And so it's just.
I was just painting my ceiling, and 2 seconds later, I almost kick over the can of paint. I'm like, no, I put it there to try to remember to not kick it over, and then yet I nearly did. All right,
Yeah.
I got 3 Hall of Famers in a row that I deem to be pathetic injuries. All right,
Ooh,
the first
all right.
one is an all-time great. Ricky Henderson, while as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays, suffered from frostbite, which is unfortunate until you learn that it was because he had an ice pack on his foot in the month of August, in the middle of the summer. That is pathetic.
How long does one have to leave an ice pack on their foot to get frostbite? How
More is not always more or better.
could you not know it's been on there too long?
Is he replenishing the bags of ice? Is he going down to the hotel?
Right.
Is he? Maybe I submit
Wouldn't
he might
it
have
melt
even.
before it froze your damn foot? I am so confused about
He
this.
may have just put his foot in the ice machine, almost like Kevin Malone style in The Office. He might have pulled one of those jobs.
See, now that makes sense. Like if he was like at a hotel or something and he just
Yes.
had one of those ice makers and he just stuck his foot in there and like fell asleep.
That's it.
Okay.
He wheeled the recliner in, didn't injure himself by trying to take a chair out of his hotel
Could have come
room.
away with no foot at all.
That's
The greatest
a rough
feat
one.
in Major League Baseball history.
Frostbite.
Take care of those things. What are you doing?
Also, foot-related injury. Wade Boggs strained his back while putting on a pair of boots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, mind you, he played in Boston, and there was no team in Colorado at this time, or Arizona. Yeah, okay, Texas. Maybe it was an American League road trip. Again, at that point, Houston was in the National League. So unless they were playing the Rangers, Boggs, why are you wearing cowboy boots? Come on.
Yeah.
It's weird enough that he eats fried chicken before every single game as a superstition, but then to
That
go
I
ahead
like.
and be rocking the boots.
You'd think that would injure him. You'd think fried chicken 162 times a year.
Something.
And look, I probably eat fried chicken 100 times a year, right? Who am I judging?
The creator of
Come
the
on.
DC basket. Yes,
That's right.
he likes his wingies.
I do. I do.
Tommy
enjoy them.
wants wingy. Drew wants wingy.
Drew wants wingy. Not quite as much as Drew wants Hassel Cattle Beef Company, but still.
Well, our final one, a nice little tease there. Our final one, Hall of Famer, John Smoltz, who I submit this is the most pathetic of Hall of Famers getting injured.
Okay.
He was ironing his shirt or I should say he burnt himself ironing his shirt, which he was wearing at the time.
Okay.
That is pathetic.
That's like.
He burnt himself ironing his shirt, ... which he was wearing at the time.
That is like peak freshman in college nonsense. Like not understanding. Like was it his very first time away from his mother? Had she not just accidentally shown him how you actually iron things before? I don't.
If that's not weird enough, Drew, that's not the only time it's happened. Brian Anderson, remember him? Lefty with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
He wasn't wearing his shirt. He was actually just checking to see if the iron was working. And so naturally, you do what you do to test it. You put it up to your face. And that's how he burnt himself, is by testing an iron on his face. Baseball players, folks. Baseball players.
I worry about some of these guys. Oh boy, come on! You gotta. How do you think about the amount of money these guys have made in their careers and just that level of functionality?
They're not paid to use their head. They're paid to use their muscle, their strength, the beef within them to do what they need to do. They're very quite clearly specimen for no reason other than that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that is. And on that note, actually, it is time for me to give another one of our sponsors a shout out. But I was just totally mentioning, because I happened to be eating the Hassel Cattle Beef Company last night. Enjoy them. We got to give a shout out right now to our friends over at WGT Golf, my favorite free game in the world. And I'm a big video game guy. You all know that. WGT Golf is great because you can get it totally for free on your phone or your computer. Get it at DNVRgolf.com. And if you want to get super hardcore into it, it's got everything there for you to devote time and energy into getting all the best equipment and all that stuff, playing on real life courses and just diving into it if you're a golf hardcore, or if you're just someone who likes to tap at a free game on your phone while you're standing in line at the grocery store or the bank. The lines are a little longer these days. We're standing 6 feet apart. A lot of people are standing in line just to get into stores. This is a great solution to any boredom that might come from that. And it's just a fun game to be playing with us. Whether you're into the golf experience or not, they are the official sponsor of DNVR Gaming, and we really appreciate it. So join the DNVR 4 Country Club today. That's how much fun it's been. That right there sells it for you. You really want to know, you can either believe in me or all the people who keep joining country clubs and coming and hanging out and playing this game with us, because it's fun. It's free.
I wish I had a golf injury. There's probably a lot of those, but we've never heard one. Like we talk about, the Players Association being like, Nolan, look, you can't opt out. There's no way you're going to get even close to the amount of money you're supposed to get. It's going to be bad for us. If a guy gets injured on a golf course, that would be worse. They'd be like, all right, which one has to happen? Like, oh yeah, Arenado can take, $40 million less. And yeah, that means we all each get maybe $2 or $3 million less in every deal we negotiate. But we needs to have our golf. We needs to have our golf.
Gots to have the golf.
Don't have any golf injuries.
We saw someone. How much guys get out there? Yeah.
Someone. Does any come to off the top of your head that you've heard of during your time where you just go like, I remember hearing a story about. You've mentioned a lot of the Rockies ones. Rockies have had a couple of real strange ones.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because we've been going through it. So many were coming to mind, and now all of a sudden, of course, I'm going to draw a blank. Just like
Jeff Kent. Kent had that one where he was washing his car. Actually, I think he might have been washing his boat. I forget what the actual fake story was, but the real story was he was riding his motorcycle, which is classic.
Right. Who was the guy who broke his leg jumping on home plate, hitting the walk-off home run for the Angels?
Yes, Kendrys Morales. Very nice.
Kendrys Morales did that.
Yeah, walk-off grand slam, and was having a really great year. Was a young DH kind of guy. He was only like 30 in that. His career, I don't think, really rebounded after that. Yeah, jumped on home plate, and then like seconds later, they're lifting him off, the ground. It's like he broke his leg. That one is very unfortunate. There's like zero. Yeah. That's like you step on first base and you kind of hurt your ankle. Like that happens to some guys, but to have it happen in that way, that one's
that was brutal.
Grueling. Chris Coughlin, something similar like that happened to him, where Wes Helms for the Marlins had a walk off, and Chris Coughlin, former Rookie of the Year, tore his meniscus chasing Helms to throw a pie in his face. IL stint. Done. Someone in our chat mentioned Sammy Sosa was one of many players to have injured themselves sneezing.
Yeah.
Matt Latos.
I had a teacher a long time ago, like a first grade teacher who had that problem, who had like a
problem, like it was ongoing?
Yeah, it was like she'd done it more than once. It was like just the way that she sneezed. Like I remember her, like I can't remember the issue, but yes, apparently that's a semi-common thing. Is that
you could do some core workouts if you're sneezing and you're going to urgent care. Like that's not good.
Messing up your back. Yeah,
you definitely.
Pilar had a sneeze injury, according to Will.
Could have. I know Goose Gossage, Colorado Springs, Colorado's own Goose Gossage,
right.
Juan Gonzalez, Russ Springer. Also sneeze. That is unfortunate, but it kind of goes in the pathetic category a little bit. I mean, it can happen to all of us, but it's just one of those things you hear that and someone goes, dude, that's weak, right?
Yeah, right.
It is unfortunate.
Right.
But I think
just a couple of years ago, Carlos Estevez missed the entire season when he got hurt celebrating a win in spring training, like jumping off the bench, and like I'm not even sure that's entirely out there now that I think about it. That's how I think it is. I think it's been reported. I'm pretty sure at this point.
Familiar?
But he hurt his oblique in spring training, is what everybody knows. But and he ended up never really getting to pitch in the big leagues that year because it took him so long to get back. It kept being a really bad injury. But yeah, I hope that's out there. But I just happen to know that's how it happened. That he was just jumping off the. And again, that's one of those things that could happen to anybody. But really terrible timing too. They could have won the division that year if they'd had him.
All right, we're gonna need Kale for this one. Now, former Mets pitcher, and more recently during the 80s, Roger Craig, who was an old guy. One of those old guys like with Jim Leland, like you look at him as a manager and you're like, all right, let's see. In 1995, he was 65. So now he's got to be getting close to 100. And you're like, no, he's only 65 now. And you go, what? So Roger Craig is one of these guys. Roger Craig, this one I put in the wild category, cut his hand on what item you could find in most homes, but maybe not all homes. Most homes.
I'm gonna guess it was a bird bath.
Oh,
love that guess.
I love that guess.
It starts with the letter B.
Much more creative.
You started articulating the letter B with your lips, and I'm like, all right, wait a minute. I didn't share this document that I created, did I? Like, how does he know this? No, it starts with the letter B. That'll be your hint. Most people do have bird baths in their house.
Sure. Who doesn't?
But it was not that letter B object.
Not like a barbecue. That doesn't make any sense.
Three-letter word.
Stumped on the B thing.
Three-letter word. Starts with B.
Is it just a bar?
No. Not a bar. It does contain all of those letters. And it is not yes. Roger Craig once missed some time because he cut his hand on a bra. On a bra strap, to be more exact.
Sure.
I mean, can't hate the player, you gotta hate the game, I guess.
I mean, at some point you just gotta accept that's the opposite of the embarrassment that people are feeling about sneezing and deer meat and all this stuff. It's like, let me tell you.
I feel like that's the greatest, worst injury where you're like, okay, he didn't break anything. Cool. It wasn't totally embarrassing, and everyone know. It's just, okay, I don't know what to say. Was it his own? Now I do not know. Will threw that out there. I would think it was not. But
until we have the official story,
we can't say that it wasn't.
That's right.
Cal, that's how it works in the journalism industry. You can't throw those things out there.
Going after the
we don't know.
I'd put the qualifier probably.
Could be.
This is hardcore journalism. We got to get to the bottom of this.
Capital J journalism.
That's right.
Capital J. Now, a few more Giants injuries if we want to kind of laugh at them, if we want to stay in the division. Chris Brown once strained his eyelid because he slept on it wrong. Pathetic.
Wait. You can strain your eyelid?
Terry Mulholland once missed some time because he was poked in the eye by a feather from his pillow. That's a little different. That's an unfortunate one.
Okay. Yeah, no, I could see that. I once had
sleep on your eyelid wrong.
Strain as anyone else in the history of the world strained their eyelid. How long are you out for? What is the recovery time for that? What does that even look like? How does it unstrain itself? Can you not blink for a couple of days? I am so confused.
That quite literally would be the definition of having heavy eyelids. You're like, oh yeah, man, this skin is just way too thick. My eyelid muscle can't pop them up. That's an unfortunate one. And Kevin Mitchell, who's one of my all-time favorite guys from the late 80s, early 90s, Dude caught a ball in left field with the Giants with one hand. He just, I misjudged it. Can't grab it with my mitt. Just went up. He had a couple, and I didn't even write them all down. I just wrote down my favorite one because I wasn't sure we were going to get to all of them. No, I did write down a couple. He vomited from food poisoning, strained abdominals. But my favorite was he chipped his tooth on a microwavable donut. Folks.
No. No, for the first time all episode, Patrick, I went, like, is the fit I just threw about strained eyelid, I'm calling BS. There's no way. Nuh-uh.
What part about that?
I'm playing my nuh-uh card. No way
that he couldn't play because his tooth was chipped. The fact that it was because of a donut, or the fact that it was because he put the donut in the microwave. Like, you could go any of those three.
There are so many holes in this story. First of all, what human being is putting a donut in a microwave? A guy
who doesn't have access to Krispy Kreme, perhaps?
You have a donut, and you have until it becomes a brick to eat it. Those are the donut rules. They're not complicated. You get it, right, Cal? Oh, we can't hear you. It's probably because you got a donut.
You could freeze a donut, but why would you? Are you really buying donuts in bulk like that much?
I don't know. Like, for example, like my uncle and Aunt Terry make like really, really good homemade donuts.
Uncle Terry,
so,
Terry?
They'll what?
Well, you said your uncle and Aunt Terry. So I just clarify,
okay. So
Uncle Terry and Aunt Terry.
My Uncle Terry and Aunt Luann, sorry, up in North Dakota, they make these homemade donuts that are like really good, and so. Like, whenever we're in North Dakota, we take home like 3 frozen bags of them and just put them in our freezer.
It's interesting that Kale would come to the defense of a former San Francisco Giants player when the sweatshirt you're wearing right now is controversial. I'm not going to air it out. This is just for folks watching live or going on YouTube. I'm not going to tell people what kind of sweatshirt you're wearing. They will need to search that video out. And that is why this video will top 1 million views by midnight
because they have to
December 31st.
What hoodie Tech Boy is wearing.
People need to know about Tech Boy.
It was a gift, and it's a very soft hoodie. I'll leave it at that.
So, Kale, you're
your tooth on a donut.
Kale, you're as a Tech Boy now. Do you have ergonomic keyboard? Do you have anything like that? Have you ever suffered any pains in your wrists from typing and doing too many things?
No carpal tunnel for me yet. I've had some.
Dude, he's like 22 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I am 23, so maybe in a couple years, I don't know. I've had a couple of embarrassing injuries, but nothing related to me being a Tech Boy.
Yeah, while I know a lot of guys in their early 20s do have very, firm forearms. I bring that up simply because the fact that Carlos Zambrano, lovable Carlos Zambrano of the Cubs, who's probably still only like 32 years old.
Right.
He got carpal tunnel from emailing his brother 4 hours a day.
Yeah. That's
back when emailing was new.
Nice. Right.
It is nice, but 4 hours.
Hey, I feel you, man. I'll tell you what, Tech Boy, when you hit 30 and you become that much more of a tech man, that the wrists and the fingers from all the typing and tweeting and being connected to the digital world all the time, I guess. And then the 2 things that I do for relaxation are playing video games and playing the guitar.
You just gnarled up. You are just gnarled.
I know. I legitimately, if anybody out there knows good exercises to stretch your hands and stuff back the other way, because I feel
you can never get into rock climbing now.
Right.
You'd have to give up gaming. Again, gnarled up.
No. It's hard out here.
You can't do that. You probably can't get into baking. You got to really roll that dough and get your hands in there. That's going to be off limits. You're going to be very limited in your options. I know for me, I take very good care of the health of my hands, which is why when I'm 70, 80 years old, I'll be able to bake whatever I want and climb whatever mountain with my hands that I can. So that's the difference between you and me, though.
That's just I think that's the only one.
That is the only one. All right, Rich Harden strained his shoulder from rolling over to turn off his alarm.
I remember.
It can happen to all of us, but that's pathetic.
Yeah.
Vince Coleman, leg injury, Now, this one may be the most unfortunate one. This is the one that Kale kind of alluded to, if you will. An automatic tarpaulin, which I believe was at Busch Stadium back when they were somewhat automatic. I don't know. It's funny because in the future, they probably should become more automatic.
I was going to say.
So they can go down, right? We want them beneath.
Yeah.
We want them beneath the ground.
Right.
So guys don't have to, flail their body on it and then turn around and try to throw a guy tagging up. We see you, Nolan. Also, you could maybe sell a couple more seats too. Like they pay for themselves after 2 years.
Right.
So
this is such an unnecessary problem with so many easy and obvious solutions.
Yeah. Poor Vince Coleman. The automatic tarpaulin rolled onto his leg. He missed the entire 1985 World Series because of it. And oh yeah, his team lost to the Royals that year. That's bad.
That's bad.
That's bad. All right, ODB McDowell, 3 pathetics in a row. ODB McDowell, which great name, loved him. Cut his finger buttering his bread. Steve Trout.
No.
Yep.
Again, that's freshman in college, stupid. That's you don't. He was using a steak knife to put butter on his bread, wasn't he?
Classic freshman mistake in
There's
the cafeteria.
Literally a knife that has it's in the name. It's what you're supposed to use it for.
What if he was trying to cut open a 3-week-old frozen donut from his Uncle Terry? Maybe
Rookie mistake.
He could have tweaked some details in the story. You never know.
Oh.
Steve Trout, no relation. Muscle strain from riding a stationary bike. And Drew, you will love this one. Remember Joel Zamaya?
Oh yeah.
Another guy came on the scene like a bat out of hell.
Exciting for 2 years and then totally disappeared.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, a young closer. And again, another guy who's 35 probably.
Yeah, right.
Well, he missed a lot of the 2006 ALCS. I remember this at the time because he had played too much Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero.
That makes sense to me. That actually, I remember when Guitar Hero first came out. I think that was the year I was in the dorms. So I spent 1 year living in the dorms, and that was the year Guitar Hero hit, and it was all anybody was doing. It was so easy to get addicted to that game. I remember, and a lot of people.
Do you want me to age myself real quick and make you sad?
No. Yes.
You heard yourself playing Hungry
Guitar
Hippos?
Hero 3 was out when I was in elementary school.
I hate you so much, but only from the best places of my heart.
Game Boy is older than Kale. What other facts can make our listeners?
I had an original Game Boy. And
did it have color?
I had a Game Boy Color. It was purple.
Okay, well that's not the original Game Boy.
No, I had an original Game Boy and I had a Game Boy Color.
Black and white. All right,
I had both.
Totally, but I will tell you. Anyone who played that when it was a sensation it first came out, especially those of us college kids who could just time became like irrelevant for a while or whatever, would have dreams of the scrolling colors and lines because it was such a aesthetically strange experience and you would play it for hours. And so, yeah, in your sleep. So I can totally understand actually how somebody would get an injury from playing that game.
What's the next technology-based injury? We had carpal tunnel from email, Carlos Zambrano. Go flash forward a few more years. You've got Guitar Hero, Joel Zamaya. Then you have Trevor Bauer cuts his finger on a drone. What is the next
Someone's
injury?
gonna tear their ACL doing a VR video game or something.
Totally.
Yes, love that one.
I was
don't
thinking
think I can
about
beat
that, and when the Nintendo Wii came out, I wonder if we could find because I know because remember that's when they started doing all the dance around, all the motion sensor stuff. You're playing Wii bowling and baseball and stuff. I know a lot of people were throwing their controllers through their TVs, and I know I almost threw out my shoulder once playing on that thing. But I wonder if any athletes during that time hurt themselves playing Wii bowling. I'll bet someone did.
When you've got that kind of disposable income, of course you're gonna feel like, oh, I got to get, the new technology. By the time it gets to sharper image, these guys have already owned it for 5 years. So I think virtual reality is a great one. I was going to say, a guy, recording something for his YouTube channel, burns his retina out from his ring light. That one could be on the table. You could have something like that.
Yeah.
And then and speaking of technology and getting burnt, Marty Cordova, former rookie of the year, the Minnesota Twins, let's say 94 maybe. When he was with the Orioles, he burnt himself when he fell asleep on his tanning bed. And so he missed a lot of time. And his doctor said specifically, it's getting better. Your situation with the skin burn is getting better. You can play night games, but you just can't play day games.
Oh,
so
my
that's
God.
That's a very specific injury.
That's fantastic.
That one's wild. We had someone in our Discord chat room who mentioned one that I had never heard of before. Then on Christmas Eve, while playing one of the You Don't Know Jack games, Jack Attack, this was one of the questions. So that bought me some serious points. Clarence Blethen, I don't know how long ago he played, but it must have been a while because he wore dentures. He took them out, put them in his back pocket, and he slid, which means he literally bit himself in his own ass and missed some time because of it. Phenomenal. Is that wild or is that pathetic?
That's phenomenal.
Ooh, phenomenal. That could be the first one in the phenomenal category.
I'm going to go wacky. I think that's
bit his
whack.
own ass.
I think that's whack.
It's wacky.
And it's a wacky one. Oh, that one's hard. All right.
I love Will's tech answer if someone's going to get merged with a fly in a transporter. Kale, do you understand that reference?
Yes.
Eric Stoltz, right? Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
He was.
Who's the player? Which MLB player would be the best fly?
I think that's going to be Trevor Bauer still. I think the technology might be out there. He's going to do it again on accident. Right. And be like, wow, he really must be using some pine tar because his fastball's gotten up to 142 miles an hour. All right, two wild ones here. One's definitely wilder than the other, quite literally. Carlos Correa missed some time. He fractured a rib in the process of getting a massage at his home. Little unfortunate, also wild, questionable.
Also, gotta get a new masseuse. It's the opposite of what I brought you in here for.
Yes, definitely a Swedish masseuse and named Sven because he applied way too much pressure. And you probably remember Yoenis Cespedes, who fractured his ankle when he's hurt himself a couple times doing weird stuff. He's got a ranch in Florida. And I don't know that he was hunting a wild boar or if he was just startled by one, but he fell in the hole, fractured his ankle, and by that point, the Mets were really just had enough of him. They actually were able to restructure his contract, so it went from $29.5 million to just $6 million with incentives because he fractured his ankle due to a wild boar. This was 2018, I think. 2019. Wow. Wild boar.
Took out King Baratheon.
Your boy Salvi Perez also carrying luggage upstairs, blew out his MCL in his knee. Moises Alou, we know he urinates on his hands, but that's not the injury. That's just smart. That's just it firms up the calluses on your hands. It firms up your calluses. You can use pickle juice too, but it's the uric acid within your hands that's good. So a lot of catchers, that's a secret, is when you're in the shower, not like in the urinal.
I mean, come on.
Okay. So Moises Alou fell off a treadmill, tore his ACL, and then when he was nearing a return, he ended up, tripping over his son, and he ended up missing the rest of his season. Brutal. Very unfortunate. Brett Barbary, who I believe was an original Miami Marlins player, he missed a game after making chili, and he injured his eye because he got chili juice in his eye. Again, that could happen to anybody with the way that hot chili splashes up toward your face. We've all had a close call. Not everyone's had it hit him in the eye, but you've had it hit near your eye and gone, oh my God, am I blinded? That's why I think that's pathetic. I think those injuries, like if they can happen to anybody, I don't know. There's a range. Stubbing your toe, unfortunate. Yeah. Getting juice in your, chili juice in your eye, like, you're dumb, but it happens to all of us. It's happened to me.
It's, yeah.
I think that could.
I didn't
be
miss any
exciting.
games though. Oh wait, I wasn't scheduled that week.
That's true. That's true. I only got 2 left, believe it or not.
All right.
Ryan Klesko was carrying a tray of food, and he just kind of turned a little bit funny and strained his stomach muscle. How much food must have been on this plate, Drew? That's what I need to know.
I don't know. I do know that I have hurt my neck on several occasions just turning to look at something that caught my attention. So yeah, actually the worst, and I've actually had a bad neck for a long time, so some of it's an ongoing thing, but the worst time I ever hurt my neck, I've had it like get strained in particular ways, but was doing that. It was just something, man, and I just turned the wrong way and went totally numb, and I shot down my arm, and I was like, what the hell? And I could barely move for a week. But hurting your stomach by turning, I don't know.
I can't believe I'm drawing a blank here. What's the name of that syndrome, if you will, where you feel something that, you know, you're very empathetic, and it's like you almost feel the injuries of somebody else?
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, but
is that just called like imposter syndrome or something? I don't know.
No, that's not the word. That sounds much more harsh.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah, I would just, when you mentioned having a neck injury from whipping your head around, I was going to make a certain bullpen joke. But last but not least, Ricky
I think Liam's
Bowness.
given me a pathetic on mine there, by the way, hurting myself.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's again,
playing video games.
If it can happen to anybody in a weird way, it's like, it's because you know it. You're not like, hey, come on now. I had a tray of food. Like, you're not going to defend yourself. If you're not going to defend yourself.
Well, and I'll tell you what, you feel stupid in there. The doctor's like, so what happened? You're like,
right.
I turned to look at someone who said my name. I don't know. It hurts. I just hurt. Make it stop. That's your job. All right. What's the interrogation about?
And yeah, if you don't feel bad about it afterwards, like, my buddy was on TV. He was coming up to the plate. He had a 15-game hit streak. I wanted to see if he could tie my season-long record. I ran into the room, stubbed my toe. You're embarrassed, but no one's gonna go, that's stupid. Yeah. But chili juice in the eye, a little bit. Our final submission, Ricky Bowness, spelt bones, but pronounced bonus. He got out of a recliner too quickly and strained his lower back. Pathetic.
Again, the older I get, the more I understand that. I'm not a professional athlete either, so I guess there should probably be a qualitative difference there.
I've never broken a bone in my body. I've sprained my fingers.
Actually,
never needed to get a stitch. I have a feeling Kale has had a lot of broken bones. He's a skier, snowboarder. No.
My brother broke the same wrist 4 different times snowboarding, though. So that was tough. It was over like a 4-year period. It was really rough.
Pins? Does he have pins? Is there a whole situation now?
No, he didn't have to get surgery, actually, but he did, like, after it was healing wrong once. So he had to go back into the doctor's office, and they had to re-break it to try and realign it. And to this day, I was in the room with him, and to this day, it is the most uncomfortable sound I have ever heard in my life.
Sorry, Drew. I want to know more.
Broken with an orthopedic surgeon's 2 fingers. It was horrifying. I mean, he literally just got like this and like in a specific pressure point, like re-broke my brother's wrist bone.
Okay, that's a dangerous human being who can just go, no, we don't need any equipment for this.
It wasn't fully healed. So it's like, it was still really weak and it was just healing at a wrong angle. So they had to like re-break it to align it correctly. It was a whole thing. It was a disgusting sound that will haunt me to the end of my life.
Did they have to knock him out? I've always wondered, like,
so they offered.
You just go, all right.
This is crazy. So my brother's like a tough MFer. I got to be honest. They offered him pain meds, all of that. He was like, no, just get it done.
How old was he? He's like 6.
No,
he puts his cigarette out. Stubbs is like, let's do this thing.
No, he was like 13, I want to say. Like middle school, high school, maybe 14. Yeah, it was tough. It was a wild thing.
Is there a countdown? Is there a 3, 2? You snap it on the 2 though, you know? Like what?
I think that's about how it happened.
Yeah.
Are you holding him down? Do you have to hold him down, or is he just like, I got this?
My dad held my brother's hand during it, and my dad's hand was like blue by the time like it was over because my brother was squeezing it so hard with his other hand.
Oof, I would have guessed like a half Nelson, maybe the $1 million.
Yeah, throw him on there.
$1 million dream.
Sitting in, like one of those exam chairs. He held my dad's hand. It was a whole thing. Yeah.
Bob Backlund chicken wing, just something to restrain him. But wow.
No, like I said, my brother has a very high pain tolerance, like a weirdly high pain tolerance. But he's also, he's broken his bone. But I never broke a bone.
Give your brother, give him a proper shout out. What's his name?
PJ Sorbo
Terry?
Or Paul Sorbo to those in the world,
AKA Terry. Everyone in your family is Terry now. Uncle Terry and Terry, your brother Terry.
My Uncle Terry will be very happy to hear that we've just renamed our entire family after him.
The whole family is Terry.
Uncle Terry's famous frozen donuts. Yeah, he's opening. He's franchising. Let me know when he franchises.
They don't make them frozen.
You can chip your tooth on them.
They're best fresh. Don't get me wrong.
No, that's the slogan. Uncle Terry's frozen donuts. You won't chip your tooth on them.
You won't.
Love it.
You won't.
All right. We do have to wrap this thing up here pretty quickly, but you just reminded me of a story that I have to tell. I know we gotta let folks go, but of the most pathetic injury that's been discussed so far. Since my mother is here and you've all reminded me, she's gonna enjoy this. Is
this an Ira story?
No, actually, Ira was not involved with this one. This was again around that same kind of age. I was maybe 13, middle school. Our parents had gotten us a speaker system for our room for playing games, watching movies, really, really cool. And we hadn't like fully set it up yet. We kind of set it up so that it was functional, but we hadn't like put everything. So there were kind of wires going everywhere. And when my brother and I were little, we had bunk beds that the older we got, they became sort of more like furniture. And it's where we would hang out and play video games and stuff. And so
you and your brother don't still have bunk beds?
I do not still have bunk beds, actually.
Lost opportunity. There's more space that way.
Dude, totally. But, right, so I had a friend over one night. I think Ira actually was off at school, and so he wasn't there. But we had put the speaker up on the top bunk, and we were playing video games, and I just totally forgot it was there. And I leaned backward onto the cord. And that thing swung off the bunk bed and hit me right between my eyes and busted me open. And it's the only time in my life I've had stitches. They had to run me down to the docs on call and stitch me up. My friend Mike, who was there, came put a big slab of ice on my face. It was the silliest. But yeah, I split open my own face. And again, that was one of those stories as they're stitching up. So what happened? I dropped a speaker on my face.
You really do injure yourself playing video games.
I do. It's dangerous out there, man.
Wow. That could have been a lot worse. I mean, an inch, half an inch, left, right, whatever. I mean, you could lose an eyeball. You get the corner of that bad boy.
Right.
Woof.
It whacked me good. And, yeah, and as someone who hates needles and the idea of stuff going into my skin, getting a shot and stitches right there. Oh, yeah, and we tried, my mom's here in the comments, and we tried not to tell you. Yeah, Mike ran upstairs, got some ice, went running back downstairs, let's not tell him we did anything stupid.
Is everything okay up there? It's fine, Mom. Oh, my God. All right, get some ice. No one's going to notice.
Yep.
I see the cartilage coming out of your nose. You're like, no, it's fine. No one's going to notice, Drew.
And my mother used to say, every time we were getting rowdy as kids, every time, I'm not going to the hospital tonight. That used to be her thing. She said, I'm not taking you. That was the one time. Turns out she was wrong. Gotcha, Mom.
That's it. You called her bluff. You called her bluff on it.
That's right.
Mike was sitting there in the waiting room, I bet, and he was like, so is this sleepover still going on, or do I have to, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Maybe all right, we're cool. We'll just wait.
Well, on that note, we really appreciate everyone hanging out with us and laughing at ourselves and each other because, sometimes human beings are silly. As great as these athletes can be, they can also be silly. So we appreciate you hanging out with us for this episode of the DFA Show. Remember to do so next week. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the DNVR.com so you're not missing out on any of that written content. Plus, you get discounts on hats, shirts, masks. You get a bigger beer when you come down to the DNVR bar when it reopens. And you get to hang out with us in the Discord and help us, frame these kinds of conversations. It really, really is a fun place to hang out. So thank you all for continuing to be absolutely awesome. I promise you we will continue to be absolutely Patrick Lyons, Drew Creasman, and Tech Boy. And until next time, we will see you at the ballpark.